Hello, 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 and welcome back to The 12. This is a show about the Women's Super League, aka the highest division of women's football in England. We're here to discuss all things WSL, both on and off the field. Each week, we'll be breaking down games, showcasing stars, and highlighting important stories surrounding the game. My name is Deepti, and I'm here with my co hosts Marc, Thom Bomb, and Treb. And this week, it's about pink slips, it's about knowing when to walk away, and it's about Arsenal finally breaking free.
And not a moment too
Hashtag
soon.
Jonas out.
It's happened.
Jonas
It's
is
officially
gone.
happened.
Are you sure it's not too soon? I feel like he could have stayed on for another week or so.
No, it's definitely he stayed longer than he
He's
needed
gone.
to. Truthfully,
He's gone. He could go far away. He's gone. He's done.
So is this a firing, a sacking, a proper sacking? Did he resign?
it's a conscious uncoupling. Is what it's
Okay, all
what it
right.
sounds
Real
like.
data situation.
Well,
okay.
technically, it's a resigning, but I'm sure it's one of those heavily suggested resigners.
It's a resigning, not a re-signing. That would every time they say
We
that.
already did that mistake the first time. No,
Exactly.
maybe that's what happened the
honestly-
first time. Maybe it was like a typo, and they just like went with it. They're like, "Oh man, we did put that.
I was shocked that y'all
We
signed
did
him
put
to an
that dash
extension.
there.
Ah, shoot.
You and 80% of the fan base, yes.
Like just
But again, the
Trisha.
past is the past. We're here. Beautiful week. A beautiful week.
It was
wasn't
amazing
the
news
greatest
to
week
wake
with
up to
results, but,
today.
so what like in as Arsenal fans, like in your mind, what was the final straw? Was it the result this weekend? Was it Everton? Was it Bayern? Was it City? What was the final straw?
Do you wanna go
I think
first?
it was for me personally, in my mind, it was Everton. I think for the club as a whole and for like management and the higher ups, it was a mix of it was Everton and then they probably gave him that one more chance with Bayern. And I think the way the Bayern match was handled, that was it. We were talking about this earlier, but they let Pernilla Harder score a hat trick in like less than 15 minutes, 13 minutes, I
Mhm.
think. She scored a hat trick in the second half. That can't happen. Like we got the first goal that game, but after that it kind of went downhill. So just the whole management after Everton not bouncing back, which is typically what Arsenal does when they have a really poor match and when they play someone at a higher level, they are able to bounce back and like do a lot better, but they were not able to. So that's what I think it was. I actually don't think it was this past match when they played Chelsea. Treb?
Yeah. Hard agree. Hard agree. It was I think for the one that pushed the limits for management was definitely the Bayern match. But for me it was Everton. Just that performance, the way that the team looked like they had given up on them. The way players were crying after the match, like it was just obviously you know how I felt. I came on and gave a rant about how we needed to get them out. Like, yeah, it was not great. It was not great. So that was it for me. And honestly, in truth, I didn't think he deserved the extension. Like, I'm glad he won us the 2 trophies. Like, I can acknowledge that. I can respect that. But to me, he didn't do enough to deserve that extension, and didn't earn, in my opinion, that right. So I thought it was a mistake to do that. I'm glad they've rectified it. It sucks it's taken this long, and for me, the biggest thing now, step one, is going to be gaining the trust of the players again. I think that is going to be the biggest step because, like I said, when you have players crying, not just one player. We're talking about 3 weeks in a row where you had a different player in tears because of something that was either done or said in whatever that post-match talk that he gives was. So, like, I think that in and of itself lets you know where the feelings were with the players and on that team. So I think step number one is just going to be regaining that trust back so that we don't end up with this image of Arsenal is where you go to have, joy sucked out of you. I think that's the worst thing you can have in women's soccer is that image.
Let me piggyback off of that. do you think that players agitated for this move? Like I like
I'll be.
like
I mean, like I don't know. I'll be honest.
maybe
Like,
that's
I'll be honest because I think English sports are a lot different than American sports. I think, yeah, if you were talking about American team, I'd 100% be like, somebody went into that office and was like, get them the hell out of here. But I don't know that was the case over there. I think over there, it's more kind of just grit and bear it, unfortunately, which really sucks in situations like this. But I think you either grit and bear it or you do like what we saw. The only sign of it is the mass exodus, right? DVD leaving the moment he comes in, Viv getting pushed out the way she got pushed out, Lacasse leaving, and then having said the things that they all said after they left. Like, that's when you start getting a sense of like, okay, something's going on over there that isn't right. On top of, like I said, the emotions after the match, like I think in those ways they facilitated the move because, again, like I said, I think it went from, okay, we just are stuck with a manager that is struggling with results to this is a toxic football club. And I think once that image started coming across, the higher ups at Arsenal were like, wait a minute, because that's absolutely not the club that we've been historically and the club that we are. So I think once that kind of narrative started percolating even a little bit, it was a sense of like, all right, we're done. Pull the plug. We're out of here. So, but he's gone. I'm happy. I'm so happy.
I want to talk about who are potential prospects for taking over his spot. Who are some managers who might get a look right now? Well, before Treb says anything, I want to hear what Thom and Marc who they think should actually take the reins and who would be like the
But please be
option.
objective. Don't like, you know what I'm saying? Don't do like
okay.
I think my 3-year-old cousin should go because like he's good at FIFA. Like, no, like, you know what
I'm gonna give two answers. One, I'm gonna say that is the one that's funniest for me, and two, I think is an actual like someone that Arsenal should pursue. Baker, the manager that was at Ajax last season, like I feel like based off of Ajax's performance last season and Ajax's performances this season, you would think that she's got a little something there. And with all obviously like Arsenal is not bereft of talent, so like let's go ahead and get her in. And then I would say the funniest possible outcome is Marc Parsons. Like that would be deeply funny to me. Like,
damn, dog, you really. Marc Parsons in 2024? Wow. You really went there.
I mean, the Dutch did it in 2023. Why not?
Oh my gosh.
The last I ever heard of Marc Parsons was when I saw him on the tube like a few months ago. He was, I don't even remember which tube station it was or anything, but he was on the tube. I saw him tap in right after me and I was like, is that him? And it was.
Word.
Yeah.
I think for me, in terms of candidates, two that come to mind. So Casey Stoney was at the match. And I think like for a lot of people, the fact that she's available, right? The way her last tenure ended at San Diego was weird, right? Like people bring up the winless in 7, but it's a lot going on at San Diego right now. People love throwing out the word toxic. What's happening in San Diego is actually toxic, right? And so I wouldn't hold that against her. Her success in NWSL and WSL, I think, speaks for itself. Another name, though, that I think it may be a little bit off the wall, but Laura Harvey of Seattle Reign. You know, so Seattle Reign, you know, coming off a rough season. I don't know if they're still in the playoff hunt or not, but, you know, some players have left. They're going through kind of a rebuild, and maybe you can tempt Harvey to, you know, come across the Atlantic, take on a new project instead of, you know, maybe just sound her out. Maybe see if she's interested in a new challenge instead of rebuilding at Seattle. So that'd be my, and plus she, you know, the Arsenal connection with her as well. So I think that'd be an interesting shout.
Do you have a funny pick? Like who you would, who would be your absolute for you personally, who would be the best?
The
and
hater pick.
funniest?
The hater pick.
Yeah, the hater pick.
For me, honestly, Vlatko would be a hater pick.
Oh my
Like,
god.
and I know he's doing well
really
this
good at
season.
domestic level, to be fair.
I was
But-
like, club level, he could
But
be.
he's also
okay.
an asshole. So
I just don't see him having the minerals to get Arsenal back to where they were.
believe
If I
it.
want Arsenal stuck in third, Vlatko would be the choice.
Listen, Vlatko is very charming. That's all that I have to say. Very charming.
I hate you both. Those are terrible, terrible decisions. For any European listeners, like, yeah, look at Vlatko. Well, they probably know Vlatko because the U.S.
Yeah,
was shitting
Mhm.
They definitely know
in
Vlatko.
front of them. Yeah, they definitely know Vlatko.
They know all of them.
So, do we want to get into the first match of the week?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Okay, I feel like I have to play point in this match because
Okay.
you all have vested interests in this.
Indeed.
So, Jonas's final match as Arsenal manager, unbeknownst to him, the match ends 2-1. Chelsea gets 2 quick goals. Myra Ramirez, that was absolutely sickening. Like, can you call that a scorpion? I don't even know if you can call it a scorpion. Like, what it was beautiful. And like, there's not many strikers in the world that can do that. And then you had a Sandy Baltimore left at the back post, like for a header, like just no one there,
Unmarked.
just absolutely unmarked. Arsenal did pull one back. Who scored for them? Was it
Caitlin Ford.
Caitlin Ford did score for them, bringing them 2-1. And like, honestly, in the second half, like Arsenal was the better team. Like, definitely was the better team. So Marc, I want to start with you. Like, did Sonia Bonpastor do her best Diego Simeone impersonation in this match?
Man, honestly, I feel like if she did do that, they wouldn't have allowed as many chances. You know, I don't see Simeone playing a left winger at left back. Like,
That is a choice. That is a choice.
Man, I feel like Simeone would have hooked Lucy Bronze after she got rinsed by Ford for the goal. Like, you know, they're just. It's like, okay, I don't want to be totally negative. Like, Chelsea won the match, right? But yeah, this fullback management is interesting. Like, Ashley Lawrence is not getting into the team right now for one reason or another. I find that interesting because I think she's our best one-on-one defender. She comes on in this match after Chelsea was struggling the whole second half. She comes on in like the 89th minute, which is just like, I really don't understand why managers do things like that. You know, it's like you could have at least brought her on in like the 75th minute when you brought on Cuthbert. Like, but yeah, you know, this is an interesting lineup overall. So Cuthbert didn't start this match. I think that's part of the reason why you saw Chelsea maybe not have as much control. She also missed the Real Madrid match in the midweek due to illness. So I'm assuming that's why she didn't start. But yeah, I just I thought they did really struggle towards the end there, especially who was it that came on? It was Miko. Did she come on? Wait, do I have this right?
It looks like Aggie Beaver Jones and Kat
Ashley
Macario came in the
Lawrence and-
63rd.
Oh, I'm thinking about the Real Madrid
Yeah.
match. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, we didn't see her in this match. But yes. Yeah, I mean, like, Arsenal hit the bar. I thought they also missed a couple of chances. Like, Stina had a chance to shoot when she passed. Things like that.
chances to shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I guess I can't complain too much. Like I said before, and I feel like it's kind of Bonpastor's like ideal scenario where they win, but then she can say we need to improve at this, and this. Even though what I would say is she just needs to play players in their position. Like, okay, Sunday Baltimore, right? Like, okay, she makes the run, she gets the goal, right? That's kind of why you play a winger, fullback. You could argue, but I also feel like Ashley Lawrence can make that run, right? Like, Ashley Lawrence can also play in crosses. So not to belabor that point too much, but like I just felt like Arsenal got at Chelsea's width, you know. I thought that's where they looked most dangerous. And then after a while, Chelsea were just sitting back. Like they were, particularly after Ramirez came off in the 63rd minute, and there's no longer that outlet. I thought that, Chelsea were just sitting back and just hanging on in a way that they don't normally do.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice because neither Macario nor Beaver Jones are like ones that you think are going to stretch the line and like be that hold up outlet, and neither one of them were.
Yeah. She did mention that she had a bit of a knock, or something happened early in the second half, and she wasn't quite right after that. So, I understand managing the player, and I think Myra is going to be pretty important until at least Sam Kerr comes back, if not the entire season. So I appreciate that proactive management, but yeah, we'd just love to see a better plan, I guess, for seeing out matches going forward.
Treb, Deepti, for the two of you, did you feel that you all were in the match prior to Caitlin Ford's goal?
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were still playing well enough to get a result?
Well, playing well, no. Defensively, especially not. I think that's the thing, is just we knew we let off 2 easy goals. I think that's what really hurts, is just when you give up the easy goals where you're just 2 mistakes, 2 goals allowed. That is punishing. And but aside from that, Marc talked about, we dominated the match, honestly. I feel like especially in the second half, Chelsea was begging us to win that match.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have had 2, 3, 4 goals, honestly, truly, if we were a little bit clinical or mentally there. But they were just cooked. I just feel like mentally at that point they were cooked, and it's unfortunate it went the way that it did. I mean, I feel like the result that we got with Jonas wouldn't have mattered. I think win or lose or draw, he was gone. But I would have loved to have seen at least a point there, just to have a little bit more momentum going into the interim manager's tenure.
That's fair. I think I was more mad or disappointed about Myra's goal, actually, because it seemed like the defense, the back line, and Van Domselaar just froze. I have to watch it back again, but it seemed from where I was sitting that it was a savable goal, and that she just kind of froze, and seemed like it was either that they thought the play had stopped or they didn't think it was going in and just didn't make a move for it. The Sandy Baltimore one was just miscommunication, I think, between Emily Fox and Beth Mead. Fox was usually out on her right side covering Sandy, but Beth Mead tracks back when it comes to set pieces like that. So I think maybe it wasn't even a set piece, but when Emily gets pulled inside, then Beth is supposed to cover, I think, and that didn't happen. So again, just a defensive mistake. But yeah, like Treb was saying, we should have scored more. Expected goals chart was frustrating. We had, look at the numbers, 2.62 XG compared to Chelsea was 1.11. Mm-hmm. And you need to take shots to have shots, just to improve your numbers and chances at making stuff. But the shots have to be on target. We took 20 shots, only 4 on target, whereas Chelsea had 11 shots with 6 on target. So a higher number of shots is good, but I guess start there if we're building again. It seems like the shooters have stopped shooting. You could tell. There was one part where Alessia Russo, she had open space to run and shoot, and she just froze. She just didn't. She passed it almost immediately.
The 2 minds. Oh my god! I'm so glad he's coming. Yeah.
There was one time where she took one half volley, shot it super well, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a small turning point in her head. She took a shot. But that was also, I think, when Stina came on. And when Stina comes on, when they're both on the pitch together, I feel like she has a bit more confidence. Because Stina shoots, Alessia is allowed to play wider where she likes it better, has a bit more confidence there. So I just need them to shoot more, honestly. Even if they're not on target, maybe just start shooting and eventually they'll hit their mark at some point. But yeah, we got to score more. That's the end story.
I've replayed that first goal. I just need to defend Van Domselaar because I've replayed that first goal several times. It looks bad, especially coming fresh off Manu having a statuesque performance. It definitely looks bad, But it's one of those like you can't really expect because like from her point of view, like again, like I replayed this goal. You had 3 Arsenal defenders and Myra facing away from the goal. Like you don't expect any player in that situation to even get off a shot relatively close, let alone. But again, like I get it. Like I think a veteran goalkeeper probably is still mentally like shit happens. Like I've seen this, but it's part of the experience of like a younger, inexperienced keeper. I think Van Damselaar learns from that because again, she is the type of keeper that is reactionary and good at like saving and leaping and reaching. So I think just kind of getting her to know like, look, at this level, like anyone can get off these kind of shots and do anything. But in her defense, like you had 3 Arsenal defenders surrounding Myra, all standing still while she let off a shot facing away from the goal.
One last thing before we move on to the next match. I am actually so jealous of how good JRK, Joanna Redding-Kennerid, has become. Just watching her, she's so fast, she's so good on the ball, and she's just so clinical and like such an important part now. And like the progression through last season into this season, she's just improved over time, and it's I'm jealous.
You can see her chemistry building with Ramirez as well. That's actually pretty exciting. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Another Arsenal envious of Chelsea.
And one player I wanted to highlight real quick is Khadija Buchanan. So this is actually her second start of the season. She started the first match. She didn't start against Palace. She was not eligible to start against Real Madrid. I think she would have started against Man U. I suspect that she'll start against tougher teams, for lack of a better term. But yeah, she and Bright were immense in this game. And if you want to look at a difference in the teams, there was Buchanan and Bright. And then there was Leah Williamson. Anybody? Just hand up out there struggling. I thought first half particular she had her struggles and picked up the booking and everything, and it was just one of those things.
Well, speaking of one of those better teams that you think she would have started of, Man United play Tottenham, and they kind of trounced them 3-0. Another clean sheet for Fallon Tulis-Joyce. Sorry. Man United looks good. I hate to say it, but they look good.
They look great.
Nothing pains me more than to agree with you.
I really
talk about it, Tom.
I will also say that Robert Villaham has to be so disappointed in his team's finishing because like Tottenham was in control of most of the first half. They had the more chances. They had more shots on goal. They were definitely the team that was on the front foot for most of the first half. And then defensively, he just has to be so disappointed that Elizabeth Turlin scored the same goal twice, like within 3 minutes. Like she scored the same goal twice. Like Celine Bizet Ildesoy on the right, chipped in across, like and both times, like Turlin was able to finish both of them. It was like you can't let in the same goal twice in 2 minutes to end the half. Like that's like awful. And then like everyone's favorite Pixie Cut got a penalty. Yes, that's how I refer to Ashley Neville. And I think it was Letitia that put that away. So at that point it was 3-0, and then like Fallon just. I think the thing that I am excited about is like I think that this is the match where the league got introduced to Fallon and like what she is as a keeper, the ability that she has, just to like because they Tottenham had some good shots. Like Drew Spence had some good shots on her. Both Beth England had some good shots on her, and Martha Thomas had just some good shots on her. I would have thought that they would have finished some of those, but it like. Yes, unfortunately, Man United is a very fun team to watch. Like, which is we like. Honestly, like this is probably the most quiet that Marc Skinner has been when WSL is in play, like maybe since he got that job, because like
Yeah.
he's been like he hasn't said anything crazy. He hasn't said it's like, oh, my players aren't good enough, but I'm not given the money to buy players, and like so I don't know what to do. Like it's I guess if you were a United fan, it would be refreshing. To me, it's just revolting, and like now I'm rethinking my stance on the lifetime contract to Marc Skinner. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say. I mean, like they've had. Not only are they 4 out of 4 wins, like some impressive wins too. You know, these teams that we think are good anyway. Like I think Spurs are good. I think they play a good brand.
Are they?
And I think they play a good brand.
I feel like we're reaching that point where teams are leveling out to what they're going to be, and I don't know if Spurs are good anymore. I think it was another year where we all got fooled. I'm gonna keep it real.
Well, because
we'll talk about that.
They could have easily scored first in this match, right? Like
they should honestly. They should have.
Arsenal could have easily scored 4 times in the second half. Like it doesn't. I don't. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Mean nothing.
Well, I mean, like we do have high expectations of Arsenal, to be fair, right? So
Tottenham have a lot of. All I'm saying is Tottenham have a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas in their first 4 matches that have them sitting at 7. So,
Yeah.
I think,
but it's still a great win by United. I don't want to take anything away from them. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, you can if you want to.
I don't know if Tottenham are a good team
I
anymore.
want to stop you.
I don't think Tottenham are a good team anymore. I'm be real.
I felt like this was a separation match, right? Like this was one of those ones. Like had Tottenham gotten a result, we'd be like, okay, like maybe United, maybe United took a step back, and they're more with the pack, or maybe Tottenham's a little bit better than we think they are, or maybe they're ready for that like top 4 fight for that third, UWCL spot. Now it's a situation where United has like cleared themselves of Tottenham and of Liverpool at this point. So like they are pretty much what I would consider best of the rest, right? Like
having kept the clean sheet against both teams, Liverpool
Yes.
in the Leagues Cup and Tottenham during this WSL past week.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And they're the last, along with City and Chelsea, they're the last undefeated teams.
Yeah,
So.
and they're the only team who hasn't conceded a goal yet.
Oh,
like Chelsea's first concession was to Arsenal.
And good luck
this
against
past weekend,
Fallon.
but
Good luck against Fallon. He's legit.
Again,
There's a reason why a lot of NWSL fans rated her so highly, and why a lot of us were upset that Manchester United basically kept her on the bench last season, right? Like, there's a reason why so many of us were mad, because you see. So, but good. I'm glad she's getting the run. She deserves it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we had Everton West Ham, other end of the table. They both drew 1-1. What happened in this match?
Yeah. So I fortunately or unfortunately got to cover this match.
Commiserations, yes.
Yeah, right. It's actually it was an okay match. There were a lot of shots. It was an open match. It's one of those things where I think both of those teams recognize where they are, and where their opportunities for wins are probably going to come, and it's going to be against relegation rivals, right? So they both came into this match with a point each, and West Ham actually scored first in the 10th minute. Actually, a nice move. Rico Wakey down the left side, the number 9, then played it to Vivian Asai, who held the ball up for a second and passed it to Anouk Denton, who came in and finished in the upper right-hand corner. And after that, they pretty much sat back. Like, I think they would have probably sat back anyway, especially away from home, but especially getting that early goal. They more or less, played conservatively, looked to hit on the counter. They actually ended it with 14 shots, and Everton had 16 shots. So like I said, open game. Everton. So as a result, Everton grew into the match slowly. They had some decent looks throughout. Tony Payne had a pretty good look in the 70th minute, was saved by the goalkeeper. And then a couple minutes later, Everton countered down the right side off of a corner. Goalkeeper caught it, literally rolled it out. It's like a training ground. type of move. And Cross coming in takes a horrible deflection. And like even though Everton had all those shots, I'm not sure if they would have scored if they didn't get that own goal. To be honest, like this was this match to me. It was like this is why these teams are here. I think it was around the 75th minute. Commentator mentioned that the XG was like 0.8 to 0.7 at that point. Yeah. So yeah. Even with all those shots, like
Tasty.
both teams finished at about 1 XG.
One expected goal the whole match.
Yeah. So and one of those was an own goal. So I mean, it's proper
battle for relegation.
Yeah, like I said, it was a fun match. I think also just a missed opportunity for both of these teams, because with this result, Crystal Palace, who lost, actually did not go down, because the other two teams below them also played and also drew. So I don't know. I hope this is setting up for like a really good relegation race. That's why I would say positive out of this.
Based off of this result, like, which one do you think like has the inside track to the championship?
I would say Everton. I think Everton. Like, I just don't know where these goals are going to come from. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, they have a decent structure. They have some talent, but I don't know. It just felt like scoring was so difficult for them. Whereas West Ham, I think West Ham chose to play this way, but I actually think West Ham may have a little more talent up front to at least to survive. So, yeah, based on this match, I would say Everton is probably more likely to be relegated.
Do you think?
Well, thank you for braving through that match for us.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. I know Christy Muse is still out with an injury. I think it's a calf injury. I'm not entirely sure. If and when she comes back, do you think she will help West Ham in any way, or is it kind of a lost cause?
I mean, I think they need all the help they can get. In terms of the table, they're still. I mean, they're not any worse off than Leicester or Villa or Everton. So, I think they could. I think they could survive. But yeah, maybe another midfielder, maybe someone who can provide a little more structure to their play. Maybe that can help them, get up the table just a little bit. Yeah.
Right. And then you mentioned Crystal Palace. They lost, but they didn't go down in the table. They played Brighton this weekend, and they ended up losing 0-1. So Brighton won 1-0. Brighton's rolling. They're getting more points, staying towards the top of the table. I think they're in 4th currently. It seems like things are still going well for them. But Treb, you want to take Crystal Palace's side. You think they got a little gypped at the end?
Yeah. I mean, well, we'll talk about the match. We thought it was going to be a offensive explosion type of match, or maybe not explosion on Crystal Palace's side, but we thought Brighton would do all they can to kind of push the tempo and really open up offensively. We didn't really see that. Only 7 combined shots on target between the two teams. It was a defensive battle for sure. Crystal Palace, neither team sat back. I'll say that. It wasn't like a 2 teams sitting back, parking the bus type of thing. It was just Crystal Palace were really solid defensively. They were not letting Brighton get any clean looks in the final third. They were disrupting everything Brighton wanted to do. Anytime Brighton was getting a buildup, they were there. Like they were just it was a pesky performance from them in the best way possible. Like that's the only way I can explain it, where it's just like you can tell Brighton were getting frustrated trying to break through. They did get their goal in the first half, 35th minute. Bruna Villamala scored, but I think absolutely it was a dubious goal at best. A moment where Crystal Palace's keeper appeared to be fouled. I say appeared to be because there was no call. And because there was no call, everyone on Crystal Palace kind of was just like, that's a foul. And in that split second where no one was doing anything, Bruno got on the ball immediately and just put it in the back of the net. And there was no foul call. That was the goal, and that was the only goal of the match. But I think Crystal Palace can take a lot away from this match. I'm talking about them because Brighton, they got the points. Good for them. They did all they had to do to win. But I don't think anyone is nervous about Brighton this season. Like, they are who they look like. They look like a solid team. It wasn't clicking for them in the final third offensively this match, but that wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, this is the Super League. It happens. You're going to come across teams, even kind of the lesser named teams, that are going to play you well defensively. So I don't think there's any concern there. I think for Palace, it was one of those matches where not coming away with a point, I think they're going to feel like, man, not in that way, especially. It was just like, that was an opportunity for them. Like we talk about separation, that was their chance, given the other results, to really separate themselves and cement themselves closer to safety, getting a point off of Brighton at home too. Like that would have been huge. But it was not to be. But yeah, I just want to get to the foul that wasn't, because I feel like that was absolutely a foul on the goalkeeper. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. I feel like it was. It's a foul we've seen called 99.9% of the time. As someone who loves defense, I can like respect them letting them play. Like I love physicality. I love defense. I kind of love the old school football. So I can respect them letting them play. But in 2024, that's a foul called 99% of the time. And for Crystal Palace and I get that call at home, really unfortunate, especially the way they were playing. Like they looked like they were building confidence. They were starting to kind of get their own offense going, but just in that moment, conceding that goal, it very much felt like, oh man, like that was tough. And I don't think they really recovered enough to get the result after that. But they did well to not concede anymore. I think that's huge because, you know, you never know if goal difference was going to come down to it in the end. So,
can you kind of describe what happened during the foul and what led to the goal?
So, yeah. I mean, it's always hard because we don't have video. Huh? So Giannis, the Crystal Palace goalkeeper Giannis, was going up for a ball, as goalkeepers do. And much like we've seen a lot whenever there's bodies flying in the box, an attacker came, and I think it was Nikita Paris. Not 100% sure.
Surprise.
First half. Yeah, she came in. I think it was her. Again, I have to rewatch the replay, make sure it was, but I'm pretty sure that's who it was because in the first half.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
In that 9 role. But she came in, didn't even really come close to getting the ball or challenging for it. Literally just like shoulder on Giannis's hip as she was going up for it, and they collided. And when they collided, the ball fell, and the 3 Crystal Palace defenders that were there were just like, foul. And the ref was just like, I'm blind. And Bruna was like, I'm going to take this ball and score. And and it happened so quickly. That's the other thing too. It wasn't like a long pause. It was just like a brief, like, hey, foul. And in that moment, Bruna scooped up the ball, scored. And that was all it took. But I like I said, it's a foul that I think gets called 99% of the time. And for this to be the one time that it's not called, I think it's tough for Crystal Palace. But hopefully it doesn't bite them in the long run. Luckily, like we've all said, they didn't go down because of the other results. So it's kind of just like a wash. But that's tough. That would have been a fun point for them, I think.
You said that Brighton looks like the team or they play like the team that they look like. So would you say that they're not title contenders, but they maybe are contenders for the 3rd Champions League spot?
It depends on if Man United keeps this going. I think that's going to be the big question. I think right now, as it stands, the 3rd place spot race is a 2-team race. I think United and Brighton have separated themselves enough from Liverpool and what Arsenal have done and what Tottenham have done to consider those 2 fighting for 3rd. But given the news with Jonas, anything can change because Arsenal aren't a bad team. I think that's also the important thing is unlike Liverpool that kind of lack a lot of talent as they're kind of building their team right now. And then same with Spurs, where they have some young players, but they don't really have the depth that a lot of like a Chelsea, a City, and an Arsenal have. Just on that alone, I think Arsenal have the edge in terms of coming back into the race. But right now, it's a 2-team race. It's United and Brighton for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to our only scoreless draw of the weekend. Aston Villa versus Leicester City. Scoreless, but not like entirely unexciting of a match. I watched this one, and I think both teams showed some promise. And again, they had some really good play. But it wasn't a win for either team, and neither team has a win yet in 4 matches. So something needs to change for both of them. Aston Villa, I think especially, they're kind of the roller coaster team, like we said. Like some years they start off strong, some years they don't. It's kind of hard to tell where they're going to be, and this year definitely has been a slow start for them. They honestly, they almost looked like had glimpses of Manchester City and like men's and women's in terms of how much they were passing. Like they had some really crisp build up, and it was tons of sequences that were like strung together, 5, 6, 7, 10 passes, and then it just fizzled out towards the end. And I think total they had like, I'm looking at the numbers, 620 passes, whereas Leicester had like 300. And so yeah, they obviously had way more possession as well. But Leicester's goalkeeper and Leicester's backline really held strong and prevented any of the attack from getting farther than the box. Both teams pressed really high for most of the match, and I think Villa did better on both ends, meaning they did better when they were being pressed and were able to get out of it, and then they also were better at the pressing and were able to take the ball off Leicester as well. It seemed like a lot of their play, besides like stringing together a bunch of passes, they were also really good at the long ball over the top. I think it was Patton in the back would feed Hansen on the left, and Hansen had a really, really good game for Aston Villa. Unfortunately, finishing just seems to be the issue. Like they don't have anyone who's very clinical right now. Like you would think Rachel Daly would put the finishing touch on at the ends of these sequences, but that hasn't happened. And like Jordan Nobbs is there, Masibo Kearns, who kind of play midfield, but also can like create and finish for them. But so far, nothing's kind of worked for them yet. This was though the longest, because Leicester City didn't concede a goal. It is now the longest that Leicester City has gone in a match without conceding a goal, the 90 plus minutes. So that's a bit, that's something on the bright side.
Nice.
Yeah, silver lining. I think Howard was really good for Leicester on the back line. And then Leipzig at the very end in stoppage time made a massive save to keep it a scoreless draw. But yeah, it's glimpses of stuff that could be good, but they really need to both work out the final third finishing touch to make anything happen in the future.
So would you say that Villa is probably the team that feels most hard done by the result based off of their possession and their poor finishing?
I think so. They definitely, yeah, they had way more possession. They seemed like the stronger team throughout. I think based on their roster as well, like some of the players they have and some who they acquired during the summer, like you would think they would be higher in the table than they are now. So I think it's points dropped for Aston Villa, whereas Leicester maybe are okay with getting a draw, especially because they're playing away.
I was just looking at some of Villa's stats and their goal score. So they only have 4 goals for the season, 3 of them by Rachel Daly, 1 by Adriana Leon. Who would you name as somebody else who could potentially help with goal scoring as the season goes along for them?
Actually, I feel like Adriana Leon. Her like position on any team she's on is a bit intriguing to me because she seems to be more of the player who like comes off the bench a lot, kind of as a spark in the match. I think every time she does come, like typically she is that spark and she does really well. I think at this match she had one really good play. I don't remember which minute it was, but she just went around her defender on the left wing and created a chance. So I think between her and Daly, like they need to feed both of them a bit more. Hansen, like I said, and then they got Gabby Nunes. Gabby Nunes is one of their newest acquires, so she should be getting fed the ball as well because she can score too. So I think it's just more about getting those strikers the final pass where they are able to like make a good shot and put it on target. But yeah, I was gonna say Adriana Leon. I don't know. What do you guys think of her in terms of how she should be played? Like, do you think she's more of a starter? Is she better coming off the bench? I almost think every time she does play, she's makes a name for herself, but she doesn't seem to get that starting position very often.
That's what I find it. Like every time she comes off the bench, she makes an impact. So like my instinct is then to say start that player, but then it's like, are they making an impact because they're coming off the bench?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Plus, she would have to like, from the looks of it, she's replacing Nunes, so they would have to drop Nunes because it doesn't look like they want to drop Daly, which I think might be.
They would never.
Yeah, they would never do that. Even though I think Daly would probably be better off the bench, in my opinion, at this point. But especially with Leon kind of in form. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe you run Leon and Daly out there at the same time and see, and then bring Nunes off the bench.
Yeah, I guess it could be time for experimentation. Like start Leon, put Daly. Like between those three, try like different combinations of two of them on at the same time and see what works best. Tom, you muted, I think.
Maybe even change up your formation to have Leon and Daly be on the pitch at the same time instead of like maybe a 4-4-2, 3-5-2, whatever you need to do for that. Also, it's really like kind of been shocking to see Kinza Dali's drop off over I rated her highly. Like
coming into the year,
for the past 2 seasons, I've rated her very highly, and like just for her to not like really fit in the new manager's plan.
Do you think her mind's all there? Because I know there was talk about her leaving Villa before the season started. Do we think that's affecting it?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But like, where would she go? Does she want to go to PSG?
Don't know. Go back. But yeah, you're right. The Daly Dali.
There's some places that are interesting.
Yeah, I think the Daly Dali link up was it last season that they were doing really well, the two of them?
Yeah.
And you're right, this year it's just completely dropped off. So yeah.
I think Villa as a whole have dropped off. That's crazy. I didn't expect them to be fighting for relegation. They're one of the 4 winless teams. They have 2 points to their name right now. Like it's a 4-team race for relegation. The fact that they're even in the same sentence as Everton and West Ham, that's tough. I mean, I say this as like an Arsenal fan who's had a tough year, but like Villa's had a tough year for sure, especially because when they started off
with the new manager.
Yeah, I mean, well, they started off looking pretty solid against Chelsea, right? I think that match we were like, okay, maybe they got something for us this year. Like they played the defending champs really well, only gave up a goal. Things were looking good, and then they just haven't really, like you said, like they haven't had that bite enough to get a win. Like they seem to do just enough to save a draw, or just enough to like not lose, but it's not. They don't have that oomph to get them the wins. So we'll see how it shapes up. But I expected more from them this year.
It's just tough when you're scoring 4 goals in 4 matches.
You're not going to win. Obviously they haven't won. So
You know who has won? Manchester City again. thanks to Bunny Shaw. They were at Liverpool playing at Anfield and beat Liverpool 2-1 thanks to two second half goals by Bunny Shaw. Tom, thoughts first?
I think my biggest fear coming as a City fan coming into this match was like, oh my gosh, based off of the result in the midweek, which I know we're going to touch on, so I'll leave that as is. Are we going to let that match like defeat us in our next match? Just because of all of the emotion and all like everything, and like that was what I was most afraid of, and I thought that Liverpool did a pretty good job of trying to exploit that. I will say, like, one of my favorite matchups within the match was Alex Greenwood marking Olivia Smith. And for the first 25 minutes, like, Olivia Smith was not having a good time. Like, was straight up not having a good time. Because honestly, like, if Olivia Smith was any younger, I would have had to call the people and be like, ma'am, she is abusing that child. That is uncalled for. But then, so Matt Beard was unavailable for this particular match as he was in the hospital, I believe, is battling some sort of illness. So he had, they had his two lieutenant interim managers, and they actually made the call to move Olivia Smith to the offensive left, City's defensive right, and put Roman away from Greenwood essentially, and put Roman Hogg on that side, and that actually directly did lead to Liverpool's only goal, as like there was a miscommunication between Alessandri and Kasparai. Ball pops up in the air, and Olivia Smith like splits both like. There might have been like 2 yards of space between Kasparai and Alessandri, and Olivia Smith splits the space, takes the ball, cuts in, and then rolls a shot in. And I'm pretty sure she had already hurt. Like, it looked like she was already hurt earlier in the match, and on scoring that goal, she was overcome with emotion. Yes, and two, I think she was also hurt, like, because she did end up like, because that was like, I believe in the 43rd minute, and she ended up coming out at halftime. Like, so, and from City's perspective at that point, I think I was very upset that they weren't finishing. Not only were they not finishing, like, I think and I tweeted this at some point in the second half, they had 3 shots and none on target. Like, I think within the 50th minute of the match or something like that. It was like, this is not looking good at all. And then, you know, big time players make big plays. Like Lauren Hemp floated across to Bunny Shaw, who that had to be the world's slowest header. And God bless you, Rachel Laws, because like I thought Rachel Laws knocked herself out. Like on the post, like I really, yeah, I really did. I was like, oh my gosh, they got to get the backup keeper up and ready, which they couldn't really do because the backup keeper was an outfield player because all of their other backup keepers are hurt at the moment. So they did not come into the match with the backup keeper. And then I felt like that was in the 58th minute. I felt like City had the ball and was just wasteful with it for most of the time. And I remember thinking, I was like, God, I hope that they have like an NWSL level of stoppage time in this match because they're gonna need it. But Alessandri like dimed a ball to Bunny Shaw, and poor Fahey. Like, I can, having had Steph Houghton play for our team last year, I can relate to having your club captain be a defender who is no longer able to defend the way that they used to be able to. But I mean, and when Fahey came in, it was almost like Bunny said, okay, you're food. Like, the fact that Fahey was hanging on Bunny's arm and it never impacted her shot at all, like, bruh, like that's just some next level striker stuff. And I think that was one of those moments where it was like, okay, well, Bunny Shaw decided that we're not losing this match today, or we're going to go all 3 points in this match. And it was like, okay, I will take it every time. And so going to the top of the table, that's great for City. As far as Liverpool goes, they are so maddeningly frustrating. Like, just I can't get a true bead on them, really. Like, are you all good? Are you bad? Like, do you know how to see a match out? I haven't
Well,
figured that out
no,
yet.
that part
No,
is
clearly they
no.
don't. Yeah, it's like they clearly cannot see a match out. Um, as like how many like this is like the third
Third one this year
match
that
that they've like
Where
given
they
up a
were leading
result.
and then
Yeah,
yeah.
lost
Yeah,
from
they have
winning position.
they have 1 win in 5 overall. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that 1 win was against Tottenham.
but I mean, yeah, like they can't hold winning positions. They give up. They either give up equalizers or, like they did against City, they give up winners.
That's the thing. Like, they don't feel like a 1 win in 5 team, but yeah, it's the way they've been ending matches. But
It's that.
I wanted to
I told you.
I wanted to ask Tom something. So Bunny Shaw after the match said that it's an ugly win, but they all count and so forth. I actually think ugly win is kind of harsh on City's performance in this. At least, so I turned up in the second half, right? Because I was like, "Ooh, Liverpool up 1-0. Can you do something for me?" Obviously, they did not. But I thought I was not surprised when Bunny Shaw scored the game winner, right? I felt like it was deserved, right? Like I felt like City played really well in that second half and generated a lot of chances and so forth. Would you say at this point, obviously City are title contenders, would you say they're favorites?
No, I don't think the City can be considered the favorites until Chelsea is mathematically eliminated. Like, and like, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, and like City hasn't done that yet, and I don't. So I'm not going to say that we're the favorites. Plus, like we are, and hopefully this will be a good segue for us, Deepti. We're still like new to navigating through what UWCL play is. Like Chelsea already knows how to do that and still win the league. So there's a lot of newness going on for City to be able to like figure out what to do with that.
All right. But yeah, before we get to UWCL scores, I just want to give a shout out to Olivia Smith. She became the first woman to score at Anfield. Big deal. Great goal. She's a star. Honestly, Liverpool might be like saved because of her, or maybe we think she's that team is good, but it's only her. It's hard to say at this point, but right now she's their shining star. So
Build around that
she's
for sure.
Yeah, build around that. Hopefully the injury was something minor, and then she's back and scoring more. But yeah, let's get to Champions League matches. Match day 1 of the group stage was last week. And real quick, the scores. Chelsea played Real Madrid at home. Chelsea won 3-2. Bayern played Arsenal, or rather Arsenal played at Bayern, lost 2-5. And the big one, Man City beat Barcelona 2-0. And I just want to say, if you listened to our last episode, all of our predictions were completely wrong. Like, we were off the mark on every single one.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess Tom, I'm sure you're like thrilled. Like, how long were you riding that high?
Oh my gosh, I like it 3 days. Like seriously, 3 days. Like I would just like look up and was like, damn, my squad really beat Barca. That's awesome. Like, and I think like just the type of match that was played, it was like I think that this was my like assertion that like for all of maybe his problems as like a person manager, like Gareth Taylor really is a good tactical manager. And just to come like the way that he pressed Barcelona to death, like they just didn't want to handle that anymore. And the fact that like you keep Barcelona from scoring, which is the first time that that has ever happened in this competition. Like in the history of the UWCL that Barcelona has been a part of, they have always scored at least one goal in every match, except for that one.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like just knowing that, I think it. I can't express enough pride in in the squad. Like it just hats off to them. I'm so excited. Like now we have a chance to actually win the group, and so maybe we get one of the second place teams versus one of the first place teams. So like that
Mhm.
reverse fixture at Camp Nou becomes really big. So I'm just I think I was shocked that he started Lazelle over Wahhabi, like, and that seemed to make all of the difference in the match. Like literally, she scored the first goal, assisted the second one. So like she might have been like the surprise that Barcelona was not ready for, and like the fact that like she was able to basically keep Putellas in check. I cannot say enough good things about Yui Hasegawa because Yui Hasegawa literally erased the reigning Ballon d'Or winner in this match, and like and what made it funnier as a City fan is like you're doing this in front of Kira Walsh, like who like we were certain that when Kira left, like, oh my God, our midfield is done. Like, and like the fact that Gareth saw this player at West Ham who wasn't even playing as a 6, was playing as an 8, and said, you know what? She would be our ideal defensive midfielder at all of 5 foot, like maybe 85 pounds soaking wet. My gosh. But like the way that she reads the game, the way that she sees everything is just amazing to me.
Happy for you.
Um,
Genuinely.
I don't think you were genuine that first time, but I saw someone put together some highlights of Mary Fowler from this match. What did you think of her?
So we like, and Deepti, you were talking about us being wrong, and I remember you actually asked me like whether I thought that Fowler could take the position from Fujino, and I was like, no. Usually, when Gareth Taylor like sticks with picks a player at the start of the season, he's going to stick with that player. And the way that Mary Fowler has played in the time that she's gotten, like she took that spot. Not only did she take it from Chloe Kelly last year, but she took the year started again and she was not the starter there, and she took the spot from the starter even earlier than she did last season. So like she's like, no, I am the starting right winger on this team. Play me. And like and honestly, like anytime a woman gets braids in her hair, like that she means business, and
Yeah.
like she has meant business.
But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wonder if City are actually favorites. Like that forward line of Hemp, Fowler, Bunny Shaw. Yeah, like you're not even talking about Miedema yet, right? Like I don't know, it's scary. It's real scary hours.
I don't know. I'm worried about what's happening with Chloe Kelly, and I don't know what the end result of that's going to be. Because
she's gone. She's absolutely gone.
She is so
She's
far
absolutely
deep in Gareth's doghouse right now. Like
she's gone.
Yeah.
She's not coming back next year. That's what's happening.
Oh, for certain, she's not coming back next year. But is
she staying with the team the whole of this season?
Correct. Like because
no, that's a January. That has well, it depends. It depends. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling you're right. I feel like January she's not going to be at City for long.
Yeah. Shall we talk about Arsenal at Bayern a little bit?
Do we have to? Can we just go to Chelsea?
Can we talk about it a lot, actually?
I mean, it started off pretty good.
Did
30th minute, Mariona scored. We had a lead for about 4 minutes. And then everything went downhill. Actually, I won't say everything yet. Everything went downhill once Pernilla Harder entered the game in around the 70th minute. before that, it was 2-2, and then 13 minutes later, it was 5-2. She scored a hat trick in 13 minutes on the field. I don't even know what happened. I'm not gonna. I've kind of blocked that out. I don't remember that second half. But I will say, one thing I know numbers are not always like the best thing to go off of. Like you have the eye test, so you should watch it. But Bayern had a 1.89 xG, and they got 5 goals off of that.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. 2 of Harder's goals were off of a corner, which, like, once it happens the first time, how you let it happen again? Like,
yeah.
Can you afford to keep having Manu be your like international competition keeper?
I know we've talked about her already a bunch on this pod, but I was surprised that she was in goal against a team that likes to score against a team like Bayern.
That's when I knew we were cooked. When I saw that lineup, I knew what time it was. I already knew. I was like, all right, bet. At that point, it's just like, do your job, Bayern, and get this man up out the paint.
Right. I had an inkling just because Ben Domslar had gotten the last 2 league starts. So I was like, okay, Manu needs minutes, and the next game is a Champions League game. So I'm like, if she's getting minutes, it's now. But I can't believe he actually used her to
did it?
Bayern's match. But so, but let's move on. What's done is done. I got rid of Jonas. One good thing out of it.
What I was going to say, just real quick, just going back to like the whole Jonas situation and so forth, like I think fans are quick to say, players quit, they're no longer playing for the manager and so forth. I always hold back on that because I don't think athletes do that naturally. But I think what does happen is you can't fake lack of confidence, right? Like once you don't have confidence, it shows up. And I just feel like that's what you saw between how they ended that match and then the beginning of the Chelsea match where they immediately allowed 2 goals. It's just like, and players are like yelling at each other, and obviously like some of that is natural, but I think that at a certain point it's like the vibes are bad, and I think like that second half, like just the way they collapsed, you could tell like, it was time for Jonas to go.
Nobody believed in the defensive tactics. Nobody. It's just like when you're an athlete and you have a coach that isn't a good coach and a bad person on top of not really like when you feel like as a player, when you feel like, okay, this person's out of their depth, you don't want to do anything extra for them, period.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. It's just like any job. Like once you realize your boss is a dumbass, like you're just like, nothing you tell me matters, brother. Like, I don't care.
You're just punching in, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like at that point, you're just going through the motions. And when you're a sports team, it comes across as the players gave up. And you're right. Like, I don't think it was a situation of like players going into the match and saying to themselves, I'm not going to try. They all try. But I think it's definitely a sense of we're cooked. Like, this dude doesn't know what he's doing. We're going up against Bayern in their house. Like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And so when the first goal hits the way it does, you're just like, okay. But yeah, once Pernell Harder comes in and lets off 3 goals like that, you're just like, okay. And then the Chelsea match to start off, the Myra goal was the first one, and then the Sandy goal just wide open like that. Yeah, you realize it's bad. But the good news is the only hope for Arsenal is that they made this move early enough in the season to salvage it, as crazy as that sounds. Because they can still come out second. It's going to be tough. They can still come out second in Champions League, though Juventus look really good. And then they're still they're only 4 points off of the top in the WSL with matches against both top teams still. I mean, we got points off of City already, and we know in our hearts we can beat Chelsea like that. It's a matter of how they come against teams like West Ham. Are they going to be able to put those teams away and then get the confidence back? And then whatever the coaching situation looks like, if we ride out with the interim the rest of the year, so be it. I think we'll have our new manager announced and brought in by international break, but we'll see.
All right. And then the other match was Chelsea versus Real Madrid. I know we had talked about whether the long break for Chelsea, about 10 days, would kind of go against them and they would be a little bit slow and like, what's the word? They wouldn't be sharp anymore after not playing for so long. Did you see that? Like, was this scoreline good for the match that was played? Did Chelsea like deserve to win? What'd you see in this match?
Yeah, well, because as you mentioned of the layoff, it was already weird coming in, and then on top of that, you show up and Aaron Cuthbert, Kat Macario, who else was this? One other person that wasn't available, and then the Hannah Hampton, who was named the starting goalkeeper, also ended up being sick, and so Musovic ends up starting. So actually, they went into this match without a backup goalkeeper, and Bombastor even said they had plans for just in case if somebody. If an outfielder had to go in goal. So I think, like, for me, there was just a lot of circumstances around this match that just made it kind of an odd situation overall. That's right. Buchanan wasn't available because she was serving a suspension from the previous season. But this is also the beginning of the Sandy Baltimore at left back experience from the start anyway. I think she had subbed on and played fullback against Palace, but she actually started against Madrid, which was interesting. I think maybe there was some rust. I think it was the second goal that Real Madrid scored. Like Millie Bright kind of lost. It was just like there was a scramble in the penalty box, and then Millie Bright lost the ball and just kind of jogged, for lack of a better term. Like, she didn't really hustle back. And then, Madrid played the ball out wide, comes into Caicedo. Lucy Bronze is in front of Caicedo, but by the time the ball goes in the net, Lucy Bronze is in the net. So it was just kind of a clusterfuck, to be honest. But in terms of positives for Chelsea, another goal for Ramirez. Again, like, they just can't do anything with her, man. Once she gets position, there's really not much. Like, once Ramirez has leverage between her and the defender, there's really not much defender can do. And she rises it up. She scores a header to make it 3-1, and ultimately, which proved to be the game-winning goal. Another goal contribution for Lauren James. We had the penalty from Guro to make it 2-0, and they actually scored in the second minute. Nushkin, I think they credited Nushkin with the goal. It looked like it came off Real Madrid player, but that's fine. But another goal off of a corner. And so, early on, I will say, Chelsea have made the most, it seems like, out of their corners and set pieces. They're scoring early, so that always helps. But they allowed a goal at the end of the first half, and then, again, as I mentioned before, in the 84th minute. So just made things a little more nervy. I noticed after the second goal, after it was 3-2, there were a couple bad giveaways in like the 86th minute, and it looked like they were just pushing for a fourth goal rather than holding on to the ball. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe it's them not quite being comfortable with the system or the manager's instructions, or maybe just them just acting instinctively. But yeah, it's also, we saw Vicky Kaptein start in place of Cuthbert, who, as I mentioned before, wasn't available. I thought she was okay. To be honest, I don't really remember too much involvement from her. And so on the one hand, it's like, I don't remember her making any errors or, big mistakes or anything. But, in terms of impact in the game, more specifically when Chelsea needed control, I'm not sure she helped that much with that. It does seem like she instinctively wants to get forward. And so I wonder if holding midfield is even a natural position for her. So I guess, we'll see how that goes, how that is going forward. Also thought Lucy Bronze kind of gave away the ball a few times particularly in the second half. I was just curious because, like, Lucy Bronze has played a lot. Like, she's started every match, and I think other than the Palace match, I think she's finished every match. We have other fullbacks though. This is like, again, I don't mean to go on and on about fullbacks, but we have Ashley Lawrence, we have Eve Perisset. Like, these are like experienced players who have played in Europe, and so I'm just curious to when they're going to start getting playing time. I mean, we have another Champions League match and obviously match on the weekend coming up, so maybe we'll see a little more rotation as far as that goes. But yeah, just one of those things where it's like, it's a lot like what Emma used to do. Okay, cool. So the spirit of Emma lives on. So, but yeah, again, can't complain too much. You got to win. I expect them to win at least 5 games in this group. So, they're on track to do that.
Okay, fair. And then this week we have matchday 2. On Wednesdays and Thursday, I believe this week. So we have Man City playing in Austria at St. Pölten, Arsenal's at home against Vålerenga, and Chelsea is at FC Twente in the Netherlands. All of these seem like they should be straightforward wins for each of our teams. These are the ones in the group where maybe rack up some goals if goal difference plays a role in the final standings in the group.
I'm calling it now. Chloe Kelly is going to start for Man City, and she's going to have at least 3 goal contributions. Like, basically, like somebody's like, it'll be one of those performances that says, "Come get me now."
Okay, I think this is the match for Arsenal where they need to have players score and get back on the score sheet, build up their confidence, just shoot. This should be like
the
shooting
players'
practice.
match. I feel like this is the players' match where they absolutely are like, it's like, okay, you're free of Jonas. Go show us that it wasn't the players, it was him, and just you have to. This is basically get a win on sheer talent and will, and get the vibes going.
Play more freely. I think you know how to play.
I feel a lot more confident. I'm not gonna lie. I feel a lot more confident going into this match. It feels good.
I'm a little intrigued by that matchup actually, because Vålerenga's first in their league.
Because you're just a hater. It's okay. I get it.
No. Oh yeah, I mean, like, I'm always
Chelsea fans always gonna hate. They're always gonna be like, well, actually, here's 20 ways Arsenal can lose. It's fine.
No, you don't need me to do that. You do that yourself. But
not anymore.
Yikes.
Not anymore.
But no,
we got 99 problems, and Jonas ain't one anymore.
Now. It's funny how the tables turn though, because like you laugh, but the best job in women's football just opened up. So
it's true.
We can literally have the pick of anybody on this planet we want. So just keep that in mind, that the next coach, if Arsenal get this right, is going to come into a situation where they're going to have infinite resources, infinite support, and basically get what is lovingly been dubbed as the Arteta deal, which is you control it, you run it, here's a blank check, get it done. So, like I said, I'm just glad this happened now and not any time later, because still a season to save. But yes, this looks like a match we should win.
All right, Marc.
Going into West Ham, win that one too. Huh?
I want to know how Marc's feeling about going to the Netherlands.
They should win. I don't really have too much more analysis than that. Like I said, like I think I'm expecting at least I'm expecting at least 5 wins in this group, so I'm expecting to beat 20 twice. I guess I'm curious to see what the lineup is, right? So I'm hoping that Cuthbert starts this one. Hopefully she's recovered. I'm really, really, really hoping to see rotation with the fullbacks. Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know if she'll rest Ramirez as yet. It's still kind of early, but she did have a knock in the previous match. Maybe you want to save her. Maybe you want to see like some other combinations like Macario and Beaver Jones. maybe Knurd at the 9. Although I don't, I prefer on the wing, but yeah, I'm not expecting too much drama. I'm hoping it should be an easy win.
Easy win, he says.
Yeah, I will say I hope Rosa Kafaji gets to play. She didn't get any minutes against Everton. She didn't get any minutes against Chelsea. Valerenga's bound to play a low block, and when there's a low block, you need to have her on the field.
Get ready for the low blocks because Valerenga's going to do it, and West Ham are absolutely going to do it. It's going to be back-to-back matches of break us down if you can. So hopefully Arsenal can. I just want to say, lastly, on the UWCL, I'm surprised with how bad the Spanish teams looked. Barcelona and Real Madrid. I'm really shocked. No disrespect to no, for real. I kind of expected Real Madrid to look that way because they still lack a lot of finish in their attack. They have a lot of.
They're not quite there.
Yeah, they're still building, right? So I expected that from them, but Barcelona looked like they got absolutely dogged. Point blank. Period. They were not having a good time. They didn't want to be there. They looked like a team that wasn't ready for what an English team had for them. They looked like a team that came in thinking it was going to be an easy W, and they got punched in their mouth, and they never recovered. So I feel bad for Hammer. I feel bad for Hammer because I feel like Barcelona is absolutely going to go into that match looking to put up 20 goals for sure.
Oh, for certain. They came into the Joy Stadium thinking that they were about to play Levante.
Yeah. They thought it was going to be an easy match,
and no, that was not the case at all.
They got pressed to death and out physicaled, and they weren't ready for it. So,
yeah,
I'm just surprised by how bad they both looked. I expected a little bit more from those sides, but it'll be interesting. That's what the Champions League is all about.
I don't know if you saw, but Beaumati after the match, she was kind of like, "Well, I've already said my thoughts about our league, but that's not why we lost this match. We lost this match because X, Y, Z." But that has been a sort of running conversation in terms of the quality of Liga F. The players that have left, like Caldente, right? And are we going to see more of that? You know what I mean? Because it's is Liga F actually improving? That's the thing. We see Barcelona's dominance, their quality, all of that, right? But I didn't think Real Madrid were that good, and I actually thought the Chelsea Real Madrid match was kind of bad. I didn't think Chelsea was that good either. You know what I mean? And so it's but that's your second best team.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Yeah. They're top. Well, Spanish leagues are top heavy, whether they want to admit it or not. Both sides are top heavy, but it's especially glaring on the women's side. But that's what happens in a league where you, much like the German league with Bayern, you're basically telling yourselves you're going to funnel to the best team in the league, and so Barcelona and Real Madrid end up with all this talent, and if they don't know how to put it together, you're not really improving yourselves. You know what I mean? When you go through the league, you're just kind of okay, we're the best team, we're running over people. Then you go into a match against City and you got Bunny Shaw, playing tackle football with you, playing rugby, just shaking people off. It's not, you're not going to be prepared for that, right? It's why teams like Arsenal, as bad as they've been, can go into a Barcelona, no matter how bad they are, and play them competitively. There's a reason for that. So I think that's a whole different conversation in terms of how to get their league better. But I don't think you'll see players mass exodus, but I do think you're going to, until they kind of get to a point where some of their mid-table teams are competing in the Champions League, kind of like how with the WSL, it was Arsenal and Chelsea for so long. And now they're getting to the point where you're seeing City come in and you might see other teams come in. I think once those teams start improving, you'll see Liga improve as a whole. But to be fair, WSL still has that same problem of being top heavy, just a little bit heftier of a top.
Yeah.
So this weekend is the last weekend before we have an international break. So we've got Brighton versus Man United, Man City versus Aston Villa, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, Leicester City versus Everton, West Ham versus Arsenal, and another London derby, Chelsea versus Tottenham. Which ones are y'all looking forward to?
I know that this is going to sound very sicko mode, but I am looking at relegation battle part 2 in Leicester versus Everton.
Ooh, yeah.
I know.
Sounds like a not great time.
Yeah, I like some true sicko stuff going on right there.
That is some
Gentlemen,
NWSL
non-binary.
after dark. Like that is
Yeah.
some like racing Louisville Bay FC on a Wednesday night type of
That's
vibe.
exactly what it is. That is exactly what
fun.
it is. And I think for some reason I just think it's going to be so bad it'll be good. Like it'll be entertaining. So like I think that's what I'm going in with the hope with. And I want to see if Everton actually tries to do something away from home. Like because at least like in this past match against who they play, Villa, right?
West Ham.
West Ham. Like in against West Ham, at least they like tried to do some stuff once West Ham scored. Like in the Arsenal match, like they didn't want to do nothing. They wanted as few things as possible to happen. Like, are you going to try to make something happen when you are away from home?
Hopefully, we can see one of them get their first win of the season.
Yes.
Treb?
I'm looking forward to Liverpool Crystal Palace. I think that's going to be a super intriguing match. I mean, we talked about Liverpool and kind of where they are. I think for Palace, it'll be a test, one of those tests against a team that's above them, but not necessarily one of the top three teams that'll just blow them out of the water. I think it's a great test to see where they're at level wise. Maybe even a chance to sneak a point on the road. If they can get a point off of Liverpool, I think that does something for Palace's confidence for the rest of the season. But I'm having a lot of fun watching Crystal Palace this year. Like they've come up and they've been intriguing from the start. And I've just been watching them this season. And with Blanchard up there, like she looks like a really fun player to watch. If she can just get a little bit more clinical in the final third, maybe get a little bit more confidence and be willing to take some of like the more audacious shots, I think then they really have something cooking. But that's going to take time. Like they're still a team that's new to the league. So they might need, I think they're a team that, depending on where they are come January, if they can have one or two really solid signings, that might be enough to really not just keep them in the WSL, but push them towards actually being like a lower mid-table side. But they've been really fun to watch this year. I'm excited about that match.
Nice. Marc, you?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the first fixture of the weekend, Brighton versus Manchester United, third versus fourth, both teams on 9 points, and I guess I'll look at it more from a United perspective because we've talked about them a bit, like how good are they? Do we believe in Mark Skinner? If they go on the road and beat Brighton, that deserves respect, So I'm hoping
that's
that
the one
happen.
where you're finally like,
Yeah. I'm with you, Marc. That's the one I was eyeing. Brighton is playing at home. They've scored 8 goals at home, whereas United hasn't conceded a goal yet. So I think that's going to be a good matchup. Who can keep that streak going? Will Brighton be able to score a lot against Fallon? And I think Brighton is a bit of a tougher test than Tottenham was for United. So I think this is just another level up to see if United is really that team this season.
Yeah,
I agree because we've seen Brighton finish. We have not seen Spurs finish.
Yeah, no. Okay. Any last thoughts?
I just want to give real quick kudos to Manchester United for sure, because I think coming into the season, it's a bit of like a reverse of what Arsenal were, where Arsenal had the club support, the fan support, the money, the resources, the facilities, and then like United had facilities being pulled, being relegated to portable areas. It was a really bad look for Manchester United coming in, but the players seem to have rallied around each other and rallied around their coach, and they are playing incredibly well this season. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them, because it seems like despite all of the bad happening at the club in terms of the lack of support that they're getting, they've decided that they're going to make sure at least the club knows just how stupid they are for doing that, because they look to be like the side that deserves the resources and the support and kind of the celebration over there at Manchester United, because they're surely in the men's side. I'll tell you that much. So,
yeah,
kudos to them. Surprised me. I'm really surprised at where they're at. I hope they keep it up. Hopefully not too much. I'm not gonna lie. Hope Arsenal still snipe that third spot, obviously, but just objectively speaking, it's been really cool seeing them do this well this early.
All you United fans who follow only the men, take a look at your women's team. They'll give you some joy.
Stop doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you need, you'll
we
definitely
want better for you. First of all, if you're only following the men, why are you here? Like,
it's like you won't be
but
listening.
also, like, why are you here? Second of all, hopefully we've convinced you to watch the women, because like they are the ones that need and deserve your support. So please do show your club that the women's side is deserving, because they is deserving of better resources, especially being a club like Manchester's United size. I almost said just Manchester, but City, to be fair, have woken up and are supporting their side. But United are too big of a side to just be pulling a Real Madrid. Be better.
Exactly.
Great.
All right. On that note, thank you for listening to us, you guys. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Hit that follow button to stay up to date when new episodes drop. Leave a rating and review if you can. We would love to hear your feedback. There are 12 teams, 6 matches, 4 hosts. You're listening to the 12. Have fun this weekend. We'll see you next week.
And 6 points coming Arsenal. Let's go.